Okay, so hi everyone. I'd just like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. So with the conference transformation theme in mind, I'll provide a brief history of the University of Sydney Library's letterpress and then focus on our 8-week annual Printer in Residence program and how each printer to date, Wendy Murray, Barbara Campbell, Karen Florence, and Mickey Quick, have fostered a creative dialogue between print and digital processes, experimentation, and engaged with library users and the wider community. So it all starts when the University of Sydney's Fisher Library moves into this award-winning modernist building in 1963. It transforms its role within the university and matches Harrison Bryan, the university librarian's vision for services grounded in tradition while firmly looking to the future. And in this 1963 article, A Private Press in Fisher, Harrison considered an intimate understanding of the craftsmanship of hand-printed book production essential to textual scholarship, and formed a small group of interested staff with the modest ambition to print well on the newly acquired 1879 improved Albion letterpress printer. And you can see an original sketch here by Alan Gamble, an architecture academic that was involved with the press at the time. It's actually an image of our smaller letterpress. So moving on, you can see the group's first 1964 publication in the bottom corner, A Press is Born by Fisher Press. It was later changed to the Piscator Press to avoid confusion with a commercial printer of the same name. And recently unearthed photographs for our library's 60th show Harrison with his back to us and two unidentified staff in the process of printing on the press as it was in the original Fisher Library. And this group would go on to print approximately 23 publications, including reports, playbills, Christmas cards, and wine lists. However, what starts with great promise languishes over time. That is, until 2017, when the library secures a Vice-Chancellor Committee grant to develop a printer in residence. And this is to revive the Piscator Press and encourage an ongoing enthusiasm for letterpress and the book arts within the university and beyond. So Alan's original sketch launches the program, which is now promoted through channels such as Imprint, the key magazine for printers published by the Council of Australia. And our latest half-page publication calling for 2024 applicants is now open. And this residency comes with a $10,000 stipend, and applications close on the 3rd of March 2024 for our second semester, which runs August to November. So if you know anyone that might be interested, please let them know. This advert links to a website where prospective candidates submit an application, propose a project preferably related to the library's collection, and provide a sample portfolio of their work for consideration. And I'm just going to give a small plug to the Penrith Museum of Printing, because they provide technical support for our residents and also advice on the upkeep of the press. And I highly recommend a visit to them. So moving on into the present, I want to show you that this is what the press room looks like. And this is in action with our first printer in residence, Wendy Murray, in 2018. The room is located on level 1 of Fisher Library in a busy corridor linking to the Herbert Freehills Law Library. And you're viewing the room through the glass panelled front with the Piscator Press in the centre and the smaller letterpress off to the right. That's my right. And as mentioned, Wendy, a visual poster artist that works between Los Angeles and Sydney, was our first resident with a project called Sydney, We Need to Talk. Appropriately, Wendy drew on the archive of Harrison Bryan's group, incorporating decorative design features into this limited edition A5 format book that was produced in collaboration with the Urban Research Academic Group. And this diverse group of geographers, planners, sociologists, for instance, co-authored a series of short essays addressing the politics of urbanisation that confronted Sydney-siders, from transport congestion to housing unaffordability. A digital version of this book is now downloadable via Wendy's personal website. And I just wanted to show you in the bottom corner, Wendy also extended this conversation out into the community with sidewalk interventions. And initially, these posters were printed on the press, but given constraints with the lack of typeface, so large type form, Wendy enlarged the posters to billboard size and to this size that you see here. So moving on, Barbara Campbell, a printmaker and librarian, focused on a more intimate project called A Bird is in the Library, which saw library walls adorned with printed frames alerting occupants to the non-human existence of a variety of birds. Her final output, Bird Voices, is a small handmade book reciting the calls of various birds, inspired by the classifications found in Peter Slater's Field Guide to Australian Birds and by the glossary The Sydney Language by Indigenous author Jacqueline Troy, which names native birds from the Sydney region in their traditional languages. And the more endangered a bird's rating was, the fainter the print became. Each printer provides a copy of their final output for inclusion in our rare books and special collections, and this contributes to our artist book collection. These materials are used for teaching, in particular with art and media students, and connect them to the history of printing and encourage questions about who makes knowledge, the materiality versus the digital, and what gets collected, and who is the creator of future histories and archives. And we use these particular works in our object-based learning classes. And you can view them in our reading room via an online catalogue search. Our next master printer is Karen, who you've just heard. And Karen was meant to be our 2020 resident. However, COVID stopped the press. And when the library reopened in 2021, Karen had shifted her focus to explore themes of change and survival through transformation, inspired by the word COVID, including Ovid, a Roman poet known for his metamorphosis epic. And you can see here, Karen's daily output included experimental playtime that responded to the times with stand here, not here prints that mimicked signage in the library and throughout the city, and COVID-related words printed on old library index cards that became absurdist hanging mobiles. So as you can see, the residency requires each printer to run open studio sessions. And in Karen's sessions, participants got to print their own facial masks that you can see. Karen's modeling one here, and there's one at the bottom. And they could be seen at the time these sessions ran. Participants could be seen wearing these masks around the library like performance art. And they included text such as mask appreciated, wearing one anyway, and this one here, the least worst option, that directly responded to the concerns of the time. Karen's final limited edition artist book, so see COVID, see Ovid, Changing to Survive, seen here, is inspired by fluff, a poetry form drawing on the unintentional and absurdities of the internet. And it catalogued 2 years of social, political, and medical reactions as an index, and is a physical reminder of that time. It accompanies the library's digital archive that also invited the community to document their experiences and is a source of future research. However, due to time constraints, it was commercially printed rather than set and printed on the press. So moving on to our final, so this is our 2023 resident, Mickey Quick, who examined the history of progressive political commentary on campus through the library's print and digital holdings of Honi Soit. And this is the university as well as Australia's longest running weekly student newspaper. Here you can see the first cover edition of Honi Soit, Volume 1, Number 1 from May 3rd, 1929. And it was started to counteract mainstream media press criticisms of student pranks that were held on Commemoration Day, which was a student tradition involving a grand parade from the university grounds into Sydney Town Hall. And I've also provided a number of covers and articles so you can see the range of activist issues tackled, from environmental to political. And I just want you to look under the heading of, so where the SWA is, you might be able to see there's a column that featured in early Honis called Have You Noticed That? And one example is that it's more admirable to write a book than several letters to the press. And Mickey picked up on this particular work. So Mickey picked up on this work and invited participants in open studios to write their own. And some of these included that 2023 feels a lot like 1933, and that the university has reinvested in fossil fuels, and that the SCR is chronically underfunded. So moving on, in keeping with Honi's history of activism, Mickey worked with the current editorial team elected by the Student Representatives Council to publish his work into the current Honi Soit. And this beautifully blends digital technology with the hand-printed materiality that hopefully you can see here. So the image on the left, this was taken at Mickey's launch. It shows the original Honi cover next to Mickey's cover print that becomes the digital front cover in the bundle of newspapers ready for distribution. And next to that bundle is the copy showing the back cover, which is a photograph of the lockup form. And at the end, I've included a photo of that actual lockup form. Just to play with the print digital combinations further, the Honi Soit header is actually 3D printed, as we didn't have that particular font type that's used for the title. So Harrison in A Press is Born noted, printing as an operation offers the most interesting opportunity for blending patience, skill, and sheer hard work with a feeling for design, form, and general aesthetic values, including an almost limitless field for experimentation. And I wanted to give you a sense of that with these images from Mickey's residency. So the feeling of the mental, physical, and material process, from the patience to compose minute type, to the physical considerations of cutting decorative metal borders and creating printing frames, to the endless experimentation that can be chaotic and messy before it comes good with the final printed form. And this is invaluable hands-on experience for participations, particularly students that have classes with the printer in residence, because they get to understand the creative frustrations and the triumphs of their material output when they've printed their actual work. And this also connects them to the mechanical wonder of the press, as well as print history and where that positions them, because they're more familiar with digital technology. We have plans to digitize these outputs for our digital collections website to extend access to this material. However, the loss of this tactile, at times messy and chaotic process is not lost on me. For instance, Mickey wanted to emboss his message into the paper, and he actually uses beer coaster mat to do this. And while it's easy to see and feel it in reality, it's harder to capture this in the digital. So finally, the printer in residence so it's now heading into its 5th year, is an established event in the university and letterpress community calendar. And it's evolved with input from each printer as they've negotiated various limitations and available production processes, at times supplementing what is print available with the digital, which can be complementary. However, at heart is our growing book collection, with the press as the starting point for particular further experimentation, and that the output is really the central requirement. So finally, I just hope that you will agree, in terms of what I've outlined here, that Harrison would be impressed with this iteration of the press and how it connects the community, increasingly more familiar with the digital, to the realities of hand printing materiality. And if I've just got time, I just want to share a particular image, if I may. This is of an Instagram post that we put up on the library's Instagram page. And this was to show students a dive into the actual locked form and showing students to try to connect them with the actual materiality of the newspaper that they could pick up. And I've just finished there. Thank you.